Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Hero Academy. Hero Academy was a game released for iOS a little while ago by Robot Entertainment that brought you games like Age of Empires Online as well as Orcs Must Die. They created what could be considered a strategy-like kind of game. It's play by email, essentially. You take your turn, you then send it over to the other player, he then plays his turn, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's all done in the modern style. It figures it all out for you. You don't have to bother emailing across any save files or anything like that. But it's designed very much to play multiple games at once, kind of like Frozen Synapse, if you remember how that operated. Now, I'm going to show you a full game of this, co-commentated by the person that was playing against me, i.e. the wife, and I've also cut out pretty much all of the downtime in it, so it makes it a bit watchable. Otherwise, it would be about an hour and a half of you staring at nothing happening. That's just the way that this game happens to operate. Now, we'll have a quick look at some of the settings and things like that before we actually go into the game. We do have leaderboards, as you can see, for every team, as well as total wins. My god, this guy plays a lot of Hero Academy. Good lord. You also have a set of challenges. These are pretty good for learning the best ways to use your chosen teams, and there's a lot of them, as you can see. Some of these are pretty tricky. They're all designed as kind of puzzles, so you've got to figure out the exact solution to do something in one turn. Kind of like Magic the Puzzling, if you remember from the old Magic the Gathering magazines a long time ago. Now, team-wise, this game comes with 2 teams by default with the Steam version, the Council team and the Team Fortress 2 team. The other 3 teams have to be purchased: the Dark Elves, the Dwarves, and the Tribe. We'll talk more about their business model later on in the video. You can also muck around with your uniform color, as you can see here, and you have a bunch of avatars. These actually come by default with the Steam version. You had to buy these on the iOS version. Not exactly the greatest thing ever, but still, hey, avatars, why not? Aside from that, what you've got is your settings menu. You can change your resolution between compact layout and normal layout. You're going to notice black bars on the side of the screen. That's because you only have 2 resolution options in this game, this being one of them. So it's not ideal, in my honest opinion. It's not that great. It would be nice to have it properly formatted for a PC screen and be able to play the game in full screen. That said, this game is very much designed to take your turn, then minimize, because it's going to pop up a notification in your system tray whenever there's a new turn for you. So it's the kind of thing that you play while you're working, you play while you're playing other games, things like that. You also have the option to customize your first turn action points, so you want more stuff on the board at any given time. That can cause the game to be a little bit more dynamic. You can muck around with that if you so desire. That pretty much covers everything in the menus, folks, so we're going to go into the game and have a full commentary with myself and the wife. We're going to have Team Fortress 2 versus the Council, and I shall show you exactly what's going on with Hero Academy. Please bear in mind, you are not going to hear game sounds. You'll hear background stuff, but you're not going to hear game sounds, because while I was playing that game, for some reason I happened to have my game sounds turned off. I have no idea why that is, and I'm very sorry. The game does have sound effects, although they are somewhat repetitive, but you will not be hearing them in this particular presentation. Alright, folks, without further ado, let's get on with the game of
Ladies
Hero
and
Academy.
gentlemen, I have a game for you, and I am also joined by my opponent in this particular game. Welcome, Mrs., to the show.
Thank you.
Alright, so what we've done with this video is we've done some cuts. So there's a lot of downtime in between turns in Hero Academy, so I've cut all of that out. You'll see all of my turns taken in their entirety, and then you'll see Jen's turns taken kind of all at once, because we're recording from my perspective. So this is the Council team versus the TF2 team, which has been added specially for the Steam version.
And so far, as you can see, it's not exactly too thrilling. There's not really like too much of a difference you can tell from either team straight off the bat, I guess, because you can't really see it from my perspective.
No, you can't, unfortunately. That's just the way of it. So you start off by railing on my crystals over there, and the whole point of the game is to get the energy bar down to 0 by destroying both crystals. There are actually some maps with only 1 crystal. In this case, as you can see, we do have 2. So some fairly significant damage done there, and I'm going to stomp your wizard into the ground, if you don't mind.
It's quite all right. Of course, you know, also mentioning that when you walk over me, it actually destroys my character without any chance to revive.
Yes, I mean, that's a fairly critical part of the game, honestly. It's not, I wouldn't say it's easy to bring characters back, but if you've got a healer, or if you've got an item which resurrects them, then they can come back onto the field. So you generally speaking want to try and avoid that if it's all possible, and this archer's going to be a colossal pain in the arse.
Well, having just played you previously in one match, which you deemed unfair, and
I didn't deem it unfair. we didn't put it out because I performed like an idiot. This is how bad the Scout is, by the way. I just want to point this out. So the TF2 team's got 9 characters, which is actually 4 more, in fact, than any other team in the roster. What it means is you've got a hell of a lot less items, and it seems like they wanted to try and find a good role for every character, but the Scout really is bad. Like, it's just straight up an awful, awful character.
and so if he's bad, then of course Archer is OP.
Well, Archer is actually OP. Archer is the best, as far as I'm aware, the best single target range damage in the entire game. So those of you wondering if it's pay to win or not, it really isn't. This is the Council is the default team that you get from the start. So yeah, the Archer's really good. In fact, everything you've got is really good in one way or the other.
I do like the fact that in the council race you do have the ability to increase attack power, increase defense, and also increase against magical defense on any character. In the TF2 team, from what I am to understand, you don't have that ability.
Well, you can do a couple of things. You can do Ubercharge like that on any full health character. You can also do Jurati, which I did there, but even combining Ubercharge and Jurati, the sniper still isn't able to take down your Archer there, so that's a little bit of a problem to say the least. Now, you're standing on the square, the tile at the moment, that allows you extra damage to crystal, so keeping control of these extra damage, extra defense squares is pretty damn important.
And also keeping in mind that the squares with the swords on them also give you additional attack power.
They do, yes.
Unfortunately, with your current setup, it wasn't really pertinent for me to go and stand on that and shoot at crystals or shoot at you. I didn't want to get too close.
Yeah, that's one thing. If you overcommit, bearing in mind you've only got 5 actions per turn, that could be a bit of a problem. I think like the only thing the Scout's really good for is the Scout's essentially a free unit. You get refunded an action point when you deploy him, so you get a free unit on the field that can move very fast. But since you can see everything on the field, it's not like Recon's useful. And if you played Outwitters, which you play a hell of a lot of, Recon in that game actually has a purpose because there's a fog of war. Here there isn't. So really the only thing the Scout's good for, I suppose, is stomping on people when they're down or sitting on squares for a little while before he gets horribly murdered.
Yeah. My Archer is probably maybe just a little bit OP, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, this guy's pretty good too, honestly. And the Demo Man, I think, is probably one of the best characters for the TF2 team. He's genuinely very good. He's got good AoE. But yeah, the Archer has the best single target damage in the game. So if you upgrade the Archer, bearing in mind the Council team does actually have items that you can employ. You haven't done that yet, but we will see that. Then, yeah, the Archer does ridiculous amounts of damage at range. And as you can see here, I'm trying different ways of killing you. I want to try and get rid of your Archer completely, if at all possible. Demo Man, unfortunately, can't really move all that well. I could do heavy damage here. I'm very surprised I actually took that turn. That was pretty stupid. I should have just stomped the Archer.
Hindsight, always 20/20.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And the game takes a long time because you can reset your turn an infinite number of times. You can undo any action, and only when you commit does it actually play out. It's kind of like Frozen Synapse in that regard.
It's kind of like chess, sort of, as long as you don't take your
As long as you don't take your hand off it. Yeah, but in chess, at least you're timed. Like, here, you are
True.
not at all. The way the game's designed, really, is to be played with multiple people. Like, you should be playing multiple games at once. You can see over to the side right there on the interface, you've got the games that I've finished and the games that I'm currently waiting on turns for. And, quite frankly, you do end up waiting a while. As you can see here, this is just me sitting, waiting for you to take a turn. Nothing actually happens. You can talk to your opponent, but it's nowhere near instantaneous. Even when you actually take your turn, it takes a little while for the server to process it and then throw it over to you.
Yeah, I tend to play probably around 10 to 15 games like this. When it's something similar to this or Outwitters, I'll just queue up like 15 games and just kind of get to them when I get to them, and that way I always have something to play.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you sit around in the game screen, it will eventually tick the turn over. What I did there, I happen to have my iPad next to me. The iPad actually tells you there's a new turn before the PC version realizes it. So you can actually click on that and it will get you to the next turn before the PC version does it. Now, you might also notice the TF2 team actually has this amazing ability to stomp people and get an extra action point back for doing it. That's each team has a special of some sort, and that is mine. And sodding Archer.
Well, I mean, keep in mind that you had probably, 4 or 5 different guys on the field at almost any given time. I had one archer. Well, I had a mage in the beginning, and you stomped him. And then I had an archer I brought out and soloed you for probably about, 5 or 6 turns?
Well, the problem is that you can do that kind of thing against the TF2 team. You've got to have a lot of guys on the field with the TF2 team because everyone is really specific in what they do. In regards to single target damage at range, you'd think the sniper would be good at it. He's actually not. He's got the most range of any character in the game, but he does pathetic damage. Even when he's crouched like that, he does really bad damage. So I guess it's fair considering he's got a range of, I think, 8 or 9 squares, so he can hit anyone as long as they happen to be on the same line.
Well, it's a good position that you've taken, especially considering that's where my crystal is to help me defeat your 2 crystals. But some people take different approaches to this game. A lot of people, when they get into this, think, oh, well, let's just kill all the characters because that'll be easier than getting down these 2 crystals. And I guess it really just depends on your play style as to whether or not you choose to go that way.
Well, I've heard a lot of criticism about this game, actually, on the basis that it seems to be just like chipping away at crystals and no decisive maneuvers. Everyone plays very passively. Admittedly, that might just be at a higher level. Personally, I've never experienced that.
I remember last night, actually, Zook and I played a game of this, and it was probably about an hour long. It shouldn't have taken that long, but we were down to our last characters. At that point, we were just going sheerly for characters, not so much for crystals. I was kind of upset in a way because I had gotten his crystals down to a lower health than he had gotten mine down to, and I sort of think that perhaps when you run out of characters, that it should I can talk, go towards maybe the person who has the least amount of HP and not so much who just happened to have one character left in the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, it's fairly rare that the game gets to that kind of stalemate situation, although it can actually happen, so that would indicate a problem with it. As regards to the TF2 team, because of how specific they are, I think that you can end up with some really bad draws. Like, it reminds me of getting land-starved in Magic the Gathering. If I pull the wrong characters, like in this situation, what do I need? I mean, I would say I probably need Soldier, maybe a Pyro. In this situation, that's annoying. I also don't have anything like that either. It's the Council actually has an AoE castable spell that they occasionally get, which is really, really good. I don't have anything like that. You have so few items as the TF2 team. I was surprised they didn't put hats in the game, actually.
I am too.
There were no hats. It's crazy.
When you have TF2, you automatically think hats, but no, not so much.
Every character in the game, aside from these guys, has equipment, and when you put the equipment on the character, it upgrades them. You did a lot of upgrading to your archer, who's now fully upgraded with a helmet, a armor piece and a weapon, so that changes the graphic on it. You do get a graphic change if you upgrade using the engineer. The engineer can upgrade weapons and it does a little bit more damage, but there's no armor upgrades or anything like that. If I'm honest, the TF2 team is really not durable at all. Even the heavy you might think is durable, but he's got no armor.
He only has 1,000 HP, is that right?
1,200,
1,200?
Yeah.
Oh.
So like a fully upgraded archer can 3-shot him and then run away.
Right.
Which, he's the toughest character you've got. Your wizard, you see that with those upgrades? Your wizard has 40% resistance to physical, 30% resistance to magic, and 960 hit points.
Yeah, he's fully outfitted at this point. I want to say I guess it's a knight. I guess you would call it. Yeah. I want to say he only has like 800 HP. Perhaps maybe it's 1,000. It could be 1,000. It might be 1,000. But when I was calculating hits last night playing against the TF2 team, there are several instances where I could have been beaten down but not run away from. Yeah. Or he couldn't trample me. So I do agree that I think perhaps the TF2 team is maybe a smidge bit outclassed, I guess.
Yeah, I just think it's because the concept of the TF2 team is so different to the other teams. Every other team has 5 characters. Dark Elves technically have 6 if you count the phantoms that you can raise from people's corpses, but they're terrible.
That is an OP race right there.
Dark Elves? Nah.
Yes.
Nah.
Although I will say, I hate Spy. I hate playing against Spy when you bring him out in TF2 team.
Spy, I think can one-shot pretty much anything as long as they're behind it. The thing about Spy is that it's so ineffective otherwise. Like, he can't be hit by ranged attacks, but he can be hit by chains. So, like, the Wizard's Chain Lightning will actually hit the Spy, as long as you don't directly target the Spy.
Right.
So, you'd think the Spy will be more durable than he is. He doesn't move very fast. See, there's maybe the one use for the Scout, is stomping people. Spawn him and then stomp, and you get your action points back there. So you get the Wizard out of play. You've still got more action points. And that was crouched.
Ping.
That was crouched. He's got
Ping.
1,100 health and a bunch of armor at the moment, and he's not even wearing a helmet. So, yeah, he's not messing around. It's incredibly irritating. But, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's just because they've got such a different playstyle. I haven't really got to terms with them yet. They're still a fun team to play, though.
Well, they look like a lot of fun. I'm actually looking forward to maybe giving it a go. I haven't actually played as the TF2 team yet, mostly just because I like Council.
Council's good. Council's a really good team. Like, I think I might go back to Dwarves, actually. Dwarves are probably my favorite team. They've got a load of AoE and ranged attacks. They're pretty awesome. There goes down one of my crystals and my Scout. Not like I care about my Scout anyway. It's like it's a waste of an action point just to get the Scout back up, really. He's going to sit on a square and do nothing all game. That's his only real thing to do. Even with an upgraded rifle, as you can see, and that's actually based on TF2 models. I think that one was based on the Deus Ex sniper rifle that came out with Human Revolution. Yeah, that's pretty sick. I mean, there's some really nice detail in it. They didn't go half-arsed on the TF2 team at all.
I'm just loving watching you try to sit here and kill my archer.
I want to try and get rid of the archer, and I can't do it. It's in this situation, I need good single target DPS. Even with Jarati, look at that. Even with Jarati, I can't take you down.
What does that do, actually?
Massive debuff it basically makes you deal a ton more damage on next hit. So what I was thinking was, I go with Soldier, who's my best ranged single target damage, and then hit you with that. Even then, and then it bounces you back onto that square.
Onto my power buff.
Which
square.
Then you just murder my soldier next turn if I even try that. So I've got to be really careful about where I move you. And it's a very strategic game. It's a bunch of fun. The guys here are watching us play with all of the downtime cut out. I just want to point out this game went on for 1 hour 10 minutes. This game lasts for about 27 minutes. So yeah, there's a lot of downtime involved in this.
Well, I mean, I think it goes to show that it was originally, an iOS concept. This is the style of game that people want to play during their downtime. If you're a person who's out and about, then, when you come back.
When you can, exactly. It's really frustrating for people that just want to play a straight-up game because they can't do it.
I agree.
The game is not set up for that. There isn't a...
Is there a pass mode? On the iOS version?
A play and pass?
Yeah.
I don't remember there being one.
I know Outwitters has
one, yes. But I think that what the game could do is maybe a competitive mode whereby your turns are timed. Because I'm pretty sure you don't have that. So that's something they can maybe add in later on. I would love to see that, because then, we could get a game done 20, 30 minutes. That would be better than just waiting for the turn. And it would also force you to take your moves maybe without so much consideration. But I think also the strength of it strategically is that you take your time. Just like with Frozen Synapse, it's the same style of turn-based in that you take your turn. It's basically play by email or Pit Boss, the old Civ 4 system. You take your turn, and then the game tells you when there's another turn available. So if you want to play more, start up more games and play them all simultaneously.
I'm really glad to see that you're actually going through several different strategies, because I always think that I'm the only one who overthinks.
No, not at all.
I go through so many different strategies.
I need to get rid of the archer, but again, I don't have the means to do it. I think that's one of the really big weaknesses with the TF2 team is when you go up against a fully upgraded character, you don't have the ability to bring them down unless you have a spy. And then I couldn't have used the spy anyway because you have your back to a crystal. I couldn't have backstabbed you, so even then, the TF2 team just has problems in certain situations that they can't really adapt to.
Agreed. There are things like that though with every I guess is it class or faction you?
They
Faction?
call them teams.
Teams, okay. Well, with every team, I mean, for example, my warrior or knight would knock you back even if he hit you once. That is extremely annoying. This is why he's not doing much right now.
Yeah, because you can't really get into... I think it's... Because he does so much damage in melee, that's actually a necessary balancing point.
But not really. He doesn't really do that much. My archer can do more damage.
Well, yeah, but your archer's also terrible in melee range and is much, much weaker than the knight is, so it's kind of balanced out that way. One way or the other, the game is great fun, but I do have to criticize the price point.
Agreed, especially when you consider what you can purchase on iOS as far as the additional teams.
Exactly. Here's a comparison. So the game on iOS is free and it comes with the council team only. Yeah, and then you have to buy all the factions, and they cost $1.99, €1.59, and £1.49, I believe. The Steam version, you have to buy the game for $5, or your regional equivalent, which is actually also €5, by the way. So the Europeans get super screwed on that one. And that gives you the TF2 team, it gives you the council team, and it gives you, I think, a bunch of TF2 items and avatars. And then they sell the teams for $5 or €5 each. Now, they justify that by saying, oh, there's avatars, and oh, there is a TF2 item and things. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't care. I mean, when did it become okay to sell stuff with TF2 items and say, oh, well, it's worth the extra money? TF2's got nothing to do with this. Yes, it's got a TF2 team, but I don't play TF2. I couldn't give a toss, quite frankly. I don't want to pay... If I was European, I would be paying more than 3 times as much for a team on Steam as I would be on iOS.
I wonder, and this is, just speculation, but I'm having to wonder if it's partially to do with, like, some sort of, like, payoff, I guess, to...
I don't know.
To use the licensing
Maybe.
of the TF2 team.
That's possible, but, I mean, I don't know, It's getting to the point where I'm seeing an awful lot of ports from mobile devices, and I'm seeing a massive jack-up in price. Like, Death Rally, for instance, was 10 times more expensive on PC, and it definitely didn't justify the cost. Not at all.
I mean, is it really that expensive for a game that's based iOS to bring that cross-compatibility between PC and a device?
I don't know. That is something we should mention, by the way. That's one of the best features of this, is that it's fully cross-compatible with iOS, so if you have friends that have an iPad and you want to play against them, you can do it seamlessly. It's really, really easy.
You should have stomped on me that turn. I don't know why.
This was very stupid.
I really don't know why.
This was incredibly
because
stupid.
You knew. You had to have known that the next turn I would get up.
No, I didn't know that because you didn't have a priest on the field and I didn't know that.
Doesn't mean I don't have one in my inventory.
Yeah, but you didn't have a priest. It was a heal. It was a potion for revive. It was a revive scroll or whatever.
But it wouldn't have mattered. I still would have been able to move enough spaces to have myself revived by placing a new priest on the board.
Yeah, but I didn't know you had either of those things. That's
but you should always assume.
Yeah,
in this game, always
yeah.
assume.
This is the thing. Like, the TF2 team only has 2 of each thing. The council has more than that.
Yeah.
I think you've got at least 3 of each.
I want to say so. I think it could actually be random, a certain amount, and then it's just kind of like jumbled up, because a lot of times I end up getting like all items and no people at first.
Really 35 HP. I'm gonna clean you out right there. But yeah, this is a bad situation. This is where I try to figure out the best way of dealing with it.
So let's bring out a spy.
Well, with a spy I can stomp you, but then even with the extra action point, I can't get my spy behind your knight. So the spy moves really slowly. What would have worked is if you combine a spy with a sandwich, which I have not got a single one of, I might add yet. Sandwich will give you a bunch of health and it gives you +2 movement.
Right.
So that you could sandwich a spy and you'll be in a really great spot. But right now I'm trying to figure out the best way to essentially save myself from losing the next turn. I have to get rid of your knight and I have to get rid of your archer, because otherwise I lose next turn. Mm-hmm. Which is awkward, and I should never have let that archer do that much damage. That is just... Oh.
At that point, I would have at least protected the crystals. I would at least have, moved your units in front of it, causing me to have to take extra turns.
That's what I do later. That's what because I was trying to figure it out in my head, how many moves. Because I thought, right, you're just going to run the knight by and kill the crystal.
Right.
So, what do I do to stop that from happening? So that's what I was thinking of here, but my first thing was, can I get rid of both the knight and the archer? And I don't believe the answer is yes on that one. Actually, I think it might be. I think I was able to do it. I just can't remember the combination of moves I had to do in order to make that happen. We even went for the upgrade in the black box there, as you can see, but I can't use Jurati as well. If I could upgrade and Jurati, then yes, you would have gone down. The question is, can I do that? I think that's what I ended up doing, actually.
Really?
I was able to... There was a certain combination of moves that allowed me to do that. I went for the knockback there.
Right.
And twice again. But I did the calculations. I'm like, well, two movements, yeah, you can get there.
Yeah.
So that's not going to help me at all. But it's cool that it makes you think so strategically, but I was such an idiot allowing you to do so much damage to the crystal.
I'm also glad that in the PC version, they've allowed partial undos.
That's actually now in the iOS version. They've patched it. Yeah, I checked
great.
my iOS version last night. They allow for partial undos. And for context, they didn't used to allow you to undo parts of your little, I suppose you could call it your little pizza in the corner there. You could undo everything at once or nothing at all. Now you can do partial undos, which is great, so you can fine-tune your turn before you actually submit it. It's kind of sad that they went the way that they did with the pricing model, although here's a pro tip. If you do want it on Steam and you have an iOS device as well, you can actually pick it up for free on iOS, buy all the teams on iOS for a lower price, and then pick up the $5 version on Steam and you save a bunch of money.
I'm not sure how that works out for... Well, that's right, because Apple actually have this thing laid out to where pricing has to scale.
Yeah, I
right?
did not know that. Basically, Apple does not allow you to screw people in other regions. It mandates fair pricing across the board, which is why you don't get the stuff with Steam. That's probably the first good thing I have to say about Apple in a very long time, that they did that. Steam should really do that.
So even if you're a European, you can go and buy this game on iOS at the proper price.
Yeah, and you can. What you do is you create an account within the game, and that creates an account with Robot Entertainment's website, and then you can link them together and you can use it. But there is a gold edition that's available, which is $15 on Steam, which comes with all of the sides and the main game. So I'm trying to think how much you'd save. There's, 3 DLC sides, I think?
I think so.
Dark Elves, Tribe, and Dwarves.
Right.
Yeah. So you get those. Those would cost you $15, and then you also get the game. So you save $5. But if you were to... I'm trying to think if you could get a better deal if you got it on iOS, if you were European. Then you're paying €5 for the base game on Steam.
Right.
You're then paying €1.59 for each of the 3 sides. I think you do save money there, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So that is an option, and there you see that I found the one combination which let me do it. And then you go and do this nonsense. Funnily enough, I think you could have actually won right there.
I could have.
Yeah, you could have. You could have just ran over and hit the crystal and killed me, which was infuriating.
Well, I figured you wanted the game to go on for a while.
Oh,
I mean,
great, yeah, thanks for that.
No, because the first time I played you, I knocked you out in, five turns?
I made a bunch of dumb errors. Like, I bunched up all of my guys, then you double fireballed them. I made a mistake with my spy, because I didn't know it could be chained with the lightning, so... Yeah, that was not a good game to demonstrate, but one way or the other, this is not going well.
I beat him, and then I came into the office because we were playing in separate rooms, and I was like, okay, great, so we can commentate this. He's like, I'm not putting that up.
Well, no, it was bad. The game would have lasted a grand total of 5 minutes. It was terrible. I made so many mistakes. I thought this was enough to stop you, and I'm an idiot for thinking that. Look at that. Bullshit. There's just bullshit.
At the end, I was toying with you a bit.
Look at that.
I love how they're like crying. That's so cool, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of style when it comes to this game, a lot of style. But yeah, it's a great game. I don't like the fact that, as you can see, there's a bunch of black borders and everything. That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But it's just the resolution they had to put it at was a bit awkward to fit everything on the screen. So you have 2 choices of resolutions, neither of them are full screen, so that could be a problem. You could argue that that's pretty poor for PC options, and I would tend to agree. But I think the biggest problem, the biggest thing that's going to get in the way of people is the fact that this game costs about 3 times as much on Steam as it does on iOS. On iOS, the base game is free. Yeah?
Right.
On Steam, you have to pay $5. You can say it's for the TF2 team.
Yeah.
Because the teams cost $5. But even then, I think it would have just been better to charge for the TF2 team. Have a free base game with console, and then charge for the teams. And don't charge as much for the bloody teams.
I agree. I still can't help but thinking that somehow this is a payoff to Valve or something.
It might be. It very well might be. I actually have to wonder if Valve turn around and have any influence whatsoever on price, because you see all of these iOS and mobile games eventually making their way over to Steam, and they're always so much more expensive. A long time ago, I think it was Gorilla Bob that I did. And it's like, I think that game was $10 on Gamersgate, and it was 69 cents on Android.
Yeah.
There are... It's the same thing with Rigonauts. When Rigonauts eventually comes out on Android, I bet it's about 99 cents. Rigonauts is a $10 game on PC. I can't see the justification for that, really. At least for the Hero Academy, they've got that cross-compatibility, they've got extra teams, so they're adding value there, but I still think it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, and I don't think it's necessary. It's especially a kick in the teeth to the Europeans.
Especially people who don't even own an iOS device. I mean, a lot of people are so hardcore Android, for example, that they would never have this game to begin with because they wouldn't have an iOS device.
I suppose you can call it the iOS device tax in that you pay so much for the iOS device that you don't want to charge people a lot for the games, because like this iPad's $800. Why would I want to then spend $15 a time on a game? You know, the most expensive game on iOS is what, Final Fantasy 3 or $15, I think.
Well, there are those ones that have monthly subscriptions.
Well, we don't count those.
Those are crazy.
It's like saying the most expensive game would be Ice Age Village or whatever. Where you buy sodding acorns and stuff like that. It's really terrible. But
pay per acorn.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, one way or the other, it's a great game, and I think you should look into it. But some of you might want to wait for a sale. And it invariably will go on sale at some point. They'll probably slash the price by 50%. At that point, I'd wholeheartedly recommend it when the prices are the same as the iOS game. But aside from that, it's really fun. And it's just a shame that they jacked the price up so much and then justified it with avatars. It's, who cares? And, of course, with the TF2 items that I personally don't care about.
And no hats.
No hats.
No hats.
No hats in the game. That's obviously a key feature. But I think that people who are already into TF2 are going to pick this up no problem, because, like, oh, look, items. Yeah, that's worth it to them. But for me, as someone that doesn't regularly play TF2, I don't care. It's not a great deal. Anyway, there you go, folks. A look at Hero Academy. A great game, not competitively priced at the moment, in my honest opinion. A good PC port. Resolution's a bit off, but you can understand why, considering what they had to fit on the screen. Maybe they could have done a little bit more work with the UI, but it's functional, it works really well, it's cross-compatible, and it's a good laugh to play, so...
It's a good laugh to watch TV play.
Well, even the base game at $5, you get 2 teams with that, so even then, that's a little bit of fun, so...
I love how you dodged that, that's great.
I'm not even going to dignify that with an answer. I'm not going to do it.
But you just did.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit, you are awful, and...
Oh, wow, thanks.
I'll see you next time.